The numbers, they're staggering. Almost too big to wrap your head around. Every single day in America, 12 kids die from gun violence, and another 32 are shot and injured. Since 1999, more than 390,000 students right here in the US have lived through gun violence at school. Let that sink in, 390,000. Just for a second, try to picture that. Now, imagine you're one of them. Imagine your normal school day. You know, the usual bell, the noise in the hallways, suddenly blowing up into a nightmare. Well, that was my reality. My name is Andrew, and telling you this, it's not easy. Not at all. This isn't just some statistic. It's not another headline. This is my story of surviving a school shooting. I want to walk you through what really happened. The raw, moment-by-moment terror. Because I think understanding what it's truly like is the only way we can even start to try and fix it. That morning, it started just like any other Tuesday. I remember being annoyed because I'd left my chemistry homework on the kitchen counter. You know, typical high school stuff. Sunlight was pouring through the classroom windows during second period, history. We were talking about some war from centuries ago, a conflict so far away from our lives, it almost felt made up. The biggest thing on my mind, the pop quiz Mr. Harrison had hinted at. I remember just doodling in my notebook, kind of half listening, with the teacher's voice droning on, mixed with the sounds of classmates shifting around, maybe a yawn here and there. It was just normal, deceptively, terrifyingly normal. There was this feeling of routine, of safety, that you just don't question when you're 16, you know. School was just school, a place for learning, for friends, for moaning about homework and counting down the minutes to lunch. The idea that all that normality could be violently torn away, it wasn't even on our radar. Not in our town, not at our school, or at least, that's what we thought. The air was still, that usual mid-morning quiet, just the hum of the fluorescent lights overhead. I remember looking at the clock, thinking about how many more minutes until the bell. That clock, and those ordinary thoughts, they're burned into my memory. Such a sharp contrast to the chaos that was about to explode. It's weird, isn't it? The little things that stick with you, the totally unimportant stuff that marks the before. Inciting incident, gunfire erupts. Then, there was a sound. A series of sharp cracks like, I don't know, it didn't register right away. Was it construction? Someone dropping a pile of books in the hall? Fireworks? Maybe, some dumb senior prank? The confusion, it only lasted a few seconds. My head snapped up, so did others. A few nervous laughs went through the class, but they died out fast when the sounds came again. Louder this time. Closer. There was an edge to those sounds, a kind of metallic finality that just sliced through the ordinary. Mr. Harrison stopped right in the middle of a sentence. His face went pale. And that's when it hit me. That first cold, sharp wave of understanding cutting through the disbelief. Those weren't fireworks. Another burst of sounds. Unmistakable now. Gunshots. The word just hung there in the air, unspoken, thick and suffocating. Then the screaming started from the hallway. And not like kids messing around. This was raw, gut-wrenching terror. That's when our classroom door, thankfully, it was already closed, shuttered, like something heavy had slammed into it from the outside. The PA system crackled. A garbled voice was yelling something about a lockdown, but the noise just swallowed the words. Lockdown. We'd practiced the drill, sure, but we never, ever thought we'd actually need it. That shift, from total normalcy to that heart-stopping realization, it was like being thrown into ice water. 1 second, I'm bored in history. The next, I'm staring down a kind of primal fear I didn't even know existed. The world just tilted. The ordinary school day? Gone. Replaced by one single, horrifying thought. This is real. Then, Mr. Harrison, bless his soul, he reacted faster than most of us could even process what was happening. Away from the door. Get down. Stay quiet. His voice was strained, yeah, but firm. It cut through that first wave of paralysis that had grabbed hold of us. We just scrambled, a clumsy, terrified bunch, away from the windows, away from the door. Some kids were crying, others just staring blankly, faces frozen in shock. I remember crawling, the rough carpet scraping my knees, my breath just catching in my throat. We huddled in the corner, the one furthest from the hallway, just a tangled mess of arms, legs, and sheer fear. The sounds outside the classroom, it was a terrifying mix of chaos. More gunshots, sometimes closer, then further away, then close again. Heavy footsteps running, shouts, glass shattering. Every sound was a new spike of adrenaline, a fresh wave of dread. My heart was pounding against my ribs, so hard I seriously thought it might just break free. I could hear myself breathing, all ragged and loud in my ears, and I was desperately trying to quiet it down. I was so scared that any little noise might draw attention to us. Someone near me was sobbing, this low, quiet whimper they were trying to muffle against their arm. I pressed myself against the cold cinder block wall, trying to make myself as small as I possibly could. My phone was in my pocket, but it felt like a useless brick. I mean, who could I even call? What could I possibly say? Hey, I think I'm going to die at school today. I saw a few classmates fumbling with their phones, their thumbs shaking as they tried to text. Quick, desperate messages to their parents, to friends. I love you. Shooter in the school. Help us. Every single message they typed felt like it could be the last. The minutes just stretched into an eternity. Time completely lost all meaning. Had it been 5 minutes? An hour? No idea. Every creak of the building, every distant shout, sent new waves of panic through our little group. We were trapped, just listening to the horror unfold right outside our flimsy wooden door. I remember thinking about the shooter. Who was it? Why were they doing this? Was it someone I knew? The questions didn't bring any comfort, just more fear. Then we heard a really clear series of shots, super close by. And then a different kind of shouting, deeper voices, sounding more in charge. Police? A tiny bit of hope flickered, so fragile and faint. But the sounds of the chaos didn't stop right away. There were more running footsteps, more muffled bangs. We didn't dare move an inch. Mr. Harrison, he stood near the door, armed with nothing but a fire extinguisher. His face was this grim mask of determination. The bravery of that man. In that single moment, it was just astounding. He was ready to defend us with the only thing he had. I closed my eyes and thought about my family. My mom, my dad, my annoying little brother. I pictured their faces, tried to burn them into my memory, just in case. The thought that I might never see them again, it was like a physical pain, this tightening in my chest that made it even harder to breathe. I whispered a prayer, something I hadn't done in years. Not for anything specific, just a desperate plea out into the universe. You could almost taste the fear in that room. It was a mix of sweat and something else, something sharp and bitter I couldn't quite place. We were all in it together. Yeah, tied by this shared terror. But at the same time, we were completely alone in what we were going through inside. I looked at the faces around me. Kids I'd known forever, sat next to in so many classes, shared jokes with. Now, their faces were pale, streaked with tears, their eyes wide with the kind of terror no kid should ever have to see. We'd catch each other's eyes for a split second, but those looks said everything. Fear, disbelief, and that desperate, unspoken question, are we going to get out of this alive? And then, the moment, the one that will be burned into my memory forever. The handle of our classroom door, it started to turn. Slowly, deliberately. Everyone gasped, but we instantly choked it back. Every muscle in my body just locked up. This was it. The only thing between us and the violence outside was about to be gone. Mr. Harrison tensed up, raised that fire extinguisher, his knuckles white. The silence in the room was total. So quiet. I could hear my own pulse pounding in my ears, like a frantic drum against the dread that was closing in. The door didn't open. The handle jiggled one more time, and then stopped. Heavy, slow footsteps moved past our door, and went on down the hallway. Were they testing doors? Looking for unlocked rooms? We had no idea. How could we? The relief that washed over me was so intense it actually made me feel sick. But right after that came a fresh wave of fear. They were still out there. So close. A few more shots echoed from further down the hall. Then, a different kind of noise. More shouts. The ones that sounded like they were in charge. Police. Drop your weapon. The words were crystal clear this time. My breath just caught in my throat. Could it be over? Was this finally the turning point? We stayed frozen, too scared to even dare to hope. But we couldn't completely kill that tiny spark inside. We heard sounds of a scuffle, a crash. Then things got quieter for a bit, broken only by distant, more organized sounding commands. It felt like forever before there was this loud, forceful knock on our door. Police, open up. We're here to get you out. Mr. Harrison carefully went to the door, asking who it was, demanding ID. Voices on the other side confirmed they were police. Slowly, he unlocked it and opened the door. And standing right there were two police officers in full tactical gear, weapons still out but pointed down. Seeing them was the most beautiful and the most terrifying thing I had ever seen in my life. Beautiful because it meant rescue. Terrifying because their grim faces just confirmed how bad, how truly awful, what we just barely escaped really was. Everyone stay calm. We're going to get you out of here. Follow me, stay low, and do not stop, one of them said. His voice felt like a lifeline in all that suffocating fear. The fight for survival in that room, that was over. But the fight for our peace of mind, that was just starting. Before I tell you what happened next, if this story is hitting home for you, or if you've been through something like this, please think about subscribing and sharing it. It's just so important these stories get heard. Leaving that classroom, it was like stepping into a war zone. Seriously, the hallway, normally so bright and just filled with the usual sounds of school, it was a scene of chaos I couldn't have imagined. Lockers were dented, some doors were splintered, hanging off their hinges. There were backpacks just thrown around, shoes, and this eerie silence in some parts, broken only by the quiet, urgent voices of officers telling students where to go. I tried so hard not to look, but my eyes kept getting pulled to the signs of the violence. There were things on the floor, things I quickly looked away from, things my mind still tries to block out even now. The smell out here was different too, sharp, metallic. Gunpowder. They herded us out quickly, a line of pale, shaken kids. We had to keep our hands visible most of the time. Officers were everywhere. Some were guiding us. Others were still carefully clearing rooms. Their faces were so tense, so focused. As we moved through the school, you could see just how bad the nightmare really was. It wasn't just our hallway, it was all over. I saw a teacher I knew, her face streaked with tears, an officer trying to comfort her. I saw a classmate from math class sitting on the floor, his head in his hands, just rocking back and forth. It felt like it took forever to get out. Every corner we turned brought a new wave of anxiety. Were there more threats? Was it really truly over? Finally, they let us out a side exit and onto the school field. It had turned into a kind of makeshift staging area. Flashing lights from police cars and ambulances were everywhere. Parents were already starting to gather behind police lines, their faces just carved with this awful mix of fear and hope. And the sirens, they were constant. Finding my parents in that crowd, it's all a blur. I remember seeing my mom's face, the incredible relief mixed with total devastation, and then I just collapsed into her arms. The sobs I'd been holding back for what felt like forever finally just broke free. My dad was there too, his hand on my back, his own eyes full of tears. He was trying not to cry. That feeling of being, relatively safe was overwhelming. But it was all tangled up with this huge sense of shock and a dawning grief for what had happened, for those who didn't make it out, or who were hurt. The immediate danger was over for me, but the world felt like it was broken beyond repair. We were the lucky ones, the survivors. But even in that first moment of escape, I knew that a part of us would stay in those terrifying hallways forever. Physically, I'd survived. I'd made it through the gunfire, the lockdown, all that terrifying uncertainty. But making it through, it's kind of a misleading phrase, isn't it? The event itself was over, but the aftermath? That was just getting started. In the days and weeks after, sleep became its own battlefield. Nightmares would replay the sounds, the fear, that image of the door handle turning. Loud noises made me jump. Crowds felt suffocating. School, the place that used to be so familiar, now it just felt alien and threatening. How could we ever go back? How could anything ever be normal again? Healing, it's not a straight line. It's a long, winding, and often really painful road. Therapy became a really important part of that journey for me. It was a space where I could start to unpack all the trauma, to actually say out loud the fears and anxieties that were constantly swirling in my head. Connecting with other survivors, people who got the unspoken horrors, that helped me see I wasn't alone in what I was going through. There was this unique bond we formed, those of us who went through it. A grim understanding that nobody else could ever fully get. My family struggled too. The trauma kind of rippled out, affecting them in ways I didn't always see at first. We had to learn to talk, to be patient with each other, to figure out how to live in this new, awful reality together. That question, why me? Why did I survive when others didn't? It still echoes in the quiet moments. There's this guilt that comes with surviving, you know? It's a heavy weight that's hard to explain and even harder to shake off. But with time, and with help, I've started to try and turn those feelings into something more. This experience, as absolutely horrific as it was, it changed me, deep down. It gave me a voice I didn't even know I had. And this drive to speak out, to make sure these stories are told, not for drama, but for understanding and for change. We have to talk about school safety, about mental health, about the devastating impact gun violence has on people and whole communities. Ignoring it isn't going to make it disappear. Silence just lets the cycle keep going. Surviving a school shooting means you carry scars. Some you can see, many you can't. It means trying to rebuild a life that was shattered in just a few moments. My story is just one single thread in a tapestry woven from far too many similar experiences. The road to recovery is long, and in a lot of ways, it never really ends. But sharing our stories, speaking up, and remembering, that's part of how we heal. And it's part of how we fight for a future where no child ever has to go through what I, and so many others, have lived through. If you've been affected by gun violence, or if this story has moved you in some way, please share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice really does matter. And if you want to hear more perspectives, more discussions about school safety, mental health, and how we can move forward, please subscribe to this channel and maybe check out my other videos. Thank you so much for listening.
Disclaimer: the following video is a dramatized retelling inspired by true events. It is intended to raise awareness, not glorify violence.